Another big theme in many cults is secrecy. Again, it has to do with the concentric circles, but often it's a very tightly controlled need-to-know basis. And in the TM movement, there was always like a lot of paranoia, like, oh, the CIA is looking at us, and we can't let this be known publicly or whatever. And there might have been some legitimacy of that. I think they might have. I was teaching in the DC TM Center shortly after Jonestown, and I can swear the phones were tapped. I'd pick up the phone, and all of a sudden click, and it'd be a hollow tone. I'd say hi to the person that was, but
Yeah.
but secrecy actually plays an insidious role in many of these organizations, and yeah.
The thing is, it's so funny. Secrecy was sold to us in a different way. Like, it was interesting. I remember them saying, well, we shouldn't share it because it's patented or whatever, and that you're breaking the contract. Or sometimes it's like, I wouldn't share these things. They wouldn't understand. And so that was the kind of secrecy that was going on. But then also I remember, this is really interesting. There was this belief that people had, and Raniere told me about, certainly, that he was being watched very carefully by intelligence agencies. So we had to be very careful about never letting anybody know where his whereabouts were, which I bought. And later I realized it's just so he could avoid accountability. He just wanted everyone to protect him. But like, there was this big thing about being secretive about where he was, who he was with, where he was going, what time he was going there. Sort of like, a president where the Secret Services don't publish any details,
Also, it was so he could just like do his own schedule and not commit to anything, and just when he felt like it, show up.
Yeah. His famous thing was that he had a 23-hour clock. I said, what do you mean? He says, I don't have a 24 hours, it's 23 hours, or maybe it was 25. I can't remember. There was so much drivel, my brain can't retain it.
It's not true. He was napping all the time.
He was napping all the time. He was like screwing at night and napping in the day.
And claiming to be a celibate.
Yeah.
Indeed he was. He was a renunciate. They said he was a renunciate. And I was like, I've never seen a renunciate need so much sex and attention. He's right.
But the secrecy thing, I mean, in your Bentino series, there's all these NDAs that everybody has to sign,
Yeah, that was really interesting. And part of the reason that people have been scared to speak is because they signed NDAs, like some of them for $300,000, which, by the way, if anybody is listening, that shit is not enforceable. That's not enforceable. We've spoken to lawyers. That shit's not enforceable.
Not when there's crimes. Yeah.
No, not when there's things going on like that. So, but a lot of people are quiet because of that. And there's also the thing, so Bonnie woke up first out of the cult, and then, she helped me wake up. And one of my first conversations was with a culty programmer called Rick Ross, not the rapper, the culty programmer.
Not personally,
Rick,
but I know of him. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rick was very interesting. So I called Rick. And I said, hey, Rick, my name is Mark Vicente. Do you know who I am? He says, I know exactly who you are. Because he was the devil to me, and I was probably the devil to him. And I said, listen, this is what's going on. And like, I'm out, and like, I need to talk. And he was great. He was wonderful. And one of the things he said is, you have to get rid of the unreasonable fears you have. You have to get rid of the idea that he can see what you're doing and knows your thoughts. I thought that was interesting. Because that is one of the things that happens when people leave cults, because they've been led to believe that the leader is all-seeing and all-knowing and knows your secrets. Because what's also happened as well, and this is not the same thing, but what's also happened is there's a culture of confession that goes on in cults. So there's secrecy, but also confession. So you're confessing all the time. And some organizations take copious notes about all your confessions. So you feel like they know your secrets, but you don't know their secrets.
That's so true. You have to be an open book.
Yeah.
But they're not.
They're not an open book, yeah.